Yo, yo, yo. She made me M.Aura. Coming to you live from the dwell, you already know. Let's adjust the microphone and shiznit. Coming to you live from the dwell. I know it's been a considerable amount of time since I've corresponded with you guys and ladies and gentlemen. But, you know, sometimes like life kind of L.Y.F.E, of course, for life films. Sometimes life, you know what I'm saying? That thing takes whatever direction it's supposed to take, but it's all along, you know, the direction that we supposed to or intended to go on, you know what I mean? So, but nah, we back in live in full effect, man. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, you know what I'm saying? For Life Films, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, things of that nature. But yeah, yo, what's good, man? What's good with the people? What's good with the people? I don't know. Figured I'd get on here and, you know, speak on a couple things, you know, kind of deconstruct and unpack a few things just because it's relevant to what's happening presently in the world, and just like the concept of energy, you know what I mean? People, power exchanges, you know, all these different attributes that, in essence, you know, kind of play a distinctive role in the human experience or the experience like on Earth. You know what I mean? So I don't know. One subject matter that was coming to mind was like the idea of, or the concept of like clout chasing, juxtapose or versus, you know, working like real, you know, 10 toes down, nose to the grindstone working. And there's definitely a distinction. There's definitely a big difference. I think in this day and age, a lot of people tend to think that the two are synonymous and that they're one and the same. You know, in actuality though, nah, not likely. So, clout, right? Clout by definition is like power, you know, or the capacity to acquiesce said power, you know what I mean? So within a political arena, within a business, scholastic, you know, anything where there is a pecking order or a proverbial hierarchy, right? So clout could very much be an actual thing that a person ascertains, right? However, I guess there's two distinctions in terms of how one can acquiesce or ascertain clout, you know, one of which being, you know, ciphering the power and clout of those who already are established at a certain level, and siphoning their power, you know, by, you know, creating dissonance within, I guess, their confidence, or dissonance within the folks who perceive that individual as that power, you know what I mean? Or by actual ingenuity and working and actually facilitating what is necessary in order to orchestrate that power for themselves. And so I guess I'll make that distinction between power and clout. They could be two sides of a coin, but they are distinguished, I think. In the sense that like power is something that I think that we all have to a certain degree, right? Because we have, like, I guess, free will or choice. And then some of us have more powers than others due to, you know, whatever physical attribute, strength, you know, size. And then there's political power. There's like a power you can't touch, you can't see, it's intangible. And that's like a spiritual power, you know, capacity to be able to harness your spiritual energy in a deep way where you can kind of use it effectively to, you know, garner wealth, garner supporters, garner and attract political base, any number of different things in which, you know, a person could use those different attributes. Like, for example, a politician, right? He or she is always seen as, or have to be seen as, like someone who's attractive, someone who's compelling. Like, for example, like when you run for president, They look for debonair. They look for like a Humphrey Bogart type of energy. I don't want to digress too far much off the subject matter, whatever the case may be. But they look for a certain distinguished gentleman type of energy. So because people tend to trust that type of face more, you know what I mean? Be it male or female. So they trust beauty more than they would like the grotesque, right? And so within the context of like power, right? A person can use those things as power, but then like, or use those things to garner power. But say a person who uses how they look to rise up a corporate ladder, or say sexual favor or things of that nature, in order to, you know, sweeten the pot for themselves and shit like that, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That's a clout chaser. Juxtapose an individual who is actually working, right? So